There are a handful of YouTubers that are currently being sued for $1 billion in a class action lawsuit right now due to them promoting FTX. I don't need to read you the bedtime story of the FTX collapse and disaster. In a very quick and dirty nutshell, it was a very, very large cryptocurrency exchange. You may have even seen the commercial with Larry David where it was, "Don't be like Larry. Crypto's coming and you don't want to miss it, so hop on board, choo choo, this shit's going right to the moon," that kind of thing. It was this big hype train that seemed to have no end until it ended. The whole thing went tits up, completely collapsed, and was worth less than the gum stuck under your school desk. It was revealed to be fundamentally just a giant scam, and the person behind it, Sam Bankman-Fried, this weaselly goblin homunculus, was basically just a big fraudster, the puppet master behind this whole thing. And so the train derailed, and instead of spilling vinyl chloride, it spilt dust because there was no money in there at all. So many people lost so much. It was a complete catastrophe. And since the days of its crumbling, a lot has happened. Not just with the people on the inside like Sam Bankman-Fried, but even the people who were loosely connected to it, like brand ambassadors, for example. They've already put Tom Brady, for instance, in the crosshairs. Tom Brady was a big FTX shill, as were quite a few other celebrities. But one of them I'd like to make special note of is Shaq. According to numerous sources, Shaq is currently trying to be issued a lawsuit for his involvement with FTX, but is hiding from them in his own home. So it's just almost kind of comical to think about Shaq hiding from the FTX lawsuit, like real Looney Tunes style, like he's, crouching behind his bar in his home or something while the guy's trying to deliver paperwork to him, but he can't find him, like a mission out of fucking Splinter Cell or something. It's a wild situation. A ton of A-list celebrities are being sued because of all of this, and now it extends to more than just the A-list Hollywood celebrities and sports stars. It's extending to the YouTubers as well, which brings us to today's topic. There is a handful of YouTubers who are getting slapped with a $1 billion lawsuit for their involvement in the promotion of FTX. 1 billion clams. 1 billion sweet, precious doubloons are at stake now for these YouTubers. And CoffeeZilla just posted a video going over all of it in great detail, so I'll put a link to that in the description. I just want to kind of give you the nitty-gritty of it and kind of get into what's going on and really what it means. Now, you might have had a little twinkle in your eye when you noticed a few of those names were familiar to you, and that's totally natural because these are huge channels on YouTube. They have millions of subscribers, and all of them are financial channels. Their content is always centered around big schmeckles. The topics are money, making money, advice, following trends, crypto, the whole kit and caboodle. And speaking of recognizing names on the list, I don't know if you caught it, but we actually have a cameo from a supervillain we may have seen in the past, Bitboy Crypto, Ben. Ben is named in this lawsuit. Bitboy Crypto is someone I've made 2 videos on now. The first was when he sued a YouTuber who was making jokes about him, and the second time was when he called a completely random woman a child molester because the woman was calling him out on promoting dog shit crypto. So, I'm not the biggest fan of Bitboy Crypto. So seeing his name in there kind of gave me little butterflies in my tummy. I had a little smile like, oh wow, how the tables have turned, because usually Bitboy Crypto is the one administering these lawsuits, which is a joke CoffeeZilla also made in his video, because it's just an easy dunk. Bitboy Crypto is very loosey-goosey with frivolous lawsuits, and now he's being named in a big lawsuit. It's poetic to a certain extent. But I'm going to have to go to bat for him, because Bitboy Crypto, as pointed out by CoffeeZilla, was actually one of the very few financial channels who started calling out FTX before they even collapsed. I know, I couldn't believe it when I heard that either. I didn't think I was even in reality anymore. I thought I got trapped in a Naruto genjutsu. The odds of Bitboy Crypto offering good advice are incalculably low. It's almost impossible. It's like almost as impossible as fucking Netflix's Big Mouth telling a good joke. Bitboy Crypto's entire career is built upon offering the worst crypto investment advice into these absolute dogshit moonshot coins that almost always lose his audience money. And yet, in this specific case, he fucking nailed it. He got it right. According to CoffeeZilla and his research, Ben had actually made a handful of videos letting people know that they need to get out of FTX immediately. That it's toxic, it's bad, and shit's not looking good, it's evil, this and that. And he was absolutely right. I mean, even a broken clock is right twice a day, as they say. And Ben absolutely hit the nail on the head. He pinned the tail right on that donkey. He was telling people like a month before the collapse even happened that they need to pull out now. And still he gets named in the lawsuit here. As you can imagine, a lawsuit like this is a reputational stain for all of these YouTubers because people look to them for financial advice, and now their credibility has been fucking slammed. It's been slapped by this because they were shilling a fucking scam, basically, that lost a ton of people money. The big issue is they weren't just talking about FTX positively because they wanted to talk about FTX organically. A lot of them were being sponsored to talk about FTX and promote it. In fact, some of them even had a podcast that was sponsored by FTX. It's now been deleted, of course. They buried that as far into the soil as they could. But they were being paid to shill FTX, which of course gave FTX access to even more victims. It brought more people to the slaughterhouse here and completely butchered their finances when FTX inevitably crashed. So now let's start eating the meat to get to the bone. It's targeting financial YouTubers. I think you can probably imagine why. Financial YouTubers are looked at as experts in this kind of subject matter. Promoting FTX gives the perception to the audience that they've done their due diligence. They're working on the assumption that this financial YouTuber is trusted source when it comes to this kind of information, so this product, which fits right in that wheelhouse, must be something legit and safe. Because this financial YouTuber is talking about it and feels comfortable enough promoting it, it's probably legit. They're viewed as experts, thus, when they're doing an FTX sponsorship, it makes it seem even more legit than if it was just some completely random goofball that has no knowledge whatsoever on anything like crypto. So that, to me, makes a lot of sense, but in CoffeeZilla's video, he talks to a real lawyer, Legal Eagle. Legal Eagle is an amazing channel on YouTube that I can't recommend enough, and Legal Eagle weighs in and says that he actually views this as kind of a meritless lawsuit. I'll do my best to break it down very quickly, but keep in mind I'm also a fucking idiot. So the first thing that the lawsuit needs to be successful is it needs to connect the endorser to FTX itself. But the people that were endorsing it, I mean, they're not employees of FTX, they're not agents, they're not directors or anything like that. And oh my god, I got something in my eye. Fucking Sam Bankman-Fried shot a dust particle right in my eye. And then the second main component is they need to have the endorsers be liable, kind of like privy to what was happening at the behind the scenes of FTX, which Legal Eagle argues is kind of factually odd because even if they're endorsing FTX, it doesn't mean they understand what's going on the inside of the company. They're not necessarily going to be given information that isn't available to the public. They're not going to automatically know more than what's publicly accessible to everybody else. So he fundamentally says that it's not the strongest case and he doesn't think it's going to go anywhere, but it's going to be expensive for the YouTubers named in the suit to fight it. But regardless of whether or not the lawsuit itself is successful, the community of these channels is not super happy about this whole situation because a lot of them fell hook, line, and sinker into FTX because of their recommendations. In CoffeeZilla's video, he interviews one of the people here, and CoffeeZilla doesn't pull punches. I always very much appreciate that about his interviews. So here he does absolutely lay it down to get to the bottom of very important questions such as, are you going to give back the money you made from the sponsorships? And all of those things. And all of it's answered in CoffeeZilla's video. But one thing that's interesting about the person being interviewed here is that he puts the onus on the viewers that fell for it, not so much him. In fact, he makes it very clear that he doesn't feel responsible. He just feels bad that some of the people that lost all of their money for being irresponsible in their own personal way. He doesn't feel responsible for it, which I found very interesting. I agree with CoffeeZilla that the viewers look at channels like his and other financial YouTubers as experts in this field. So when they're recommending something like FTX, they assume due diligence has been done and that this is a trustworthy organization that they can put money into. And in the case of FTX, that couldn't have been further from the truth. Thus, their credibility now is completely in the shitter. And a lot of people lost a lot of money from this trusting these YouTubers, which is a big problem. And that's a point CoffeeZilla likes to make at the end of the video that I think is a very strong point. So overall, these YouTubers are being sued for $1 billion. It doesn't, from the sound of it, from the expert like Legal, it doesn't sound like they're actually going to lose a collective $1 billion from all of this unless some kind of crazy shit comes out. But regardless, it highlights a huge issue where they would promote this product without ever really bothering to look that deep into it, which isn't a problem that's exclusive to just these financial YouTubers. That extends to the broader platform of YouTube as a whole. And in fact, it's happened to me before as well. On the official podcast, we actually had a sponsorship slot for Robinhood. And even though Robinhood isn't like an outright scam or anything, at least not that I know of, they have done some unforgivably shady shit. And I still feel awful about that whole situation because they had like 5 slots on the podcast and I thought it was a good service, but I was kind of naive to think that. I am no Robinhood fan anymore after the multitude of scummy moves they've made. So it is something that has happened in other verticals of the platform, but in this case, it is targeted directly at the financial YouTubers in the lawsuit, and it's a very interesting situation here that I'm going to keep my eye on to see how it all plays out. But anyway, just wanted to talk about it a little bit. That's about it. See ya.